Hello and welcome to the Overton Audios podcast. My name is Carl Chadwick.
And I'm Daniel Pan.
And on today's podcast, myself and Daniel will be discussing the new one-off audio drama, Baby on Board.
Later in the podcast, Connor's is having a chat with John and Harper on the new Mastermind audio drama. How are you, Connor?
Oh, I'm all good, thank you. My sweet Daniel, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm a little bit shattered. I think you're a bit shattered as well.
Yeah, we both are, really. It's been a long few weeks.
It's been, definitely been that.
Well, I mean, for myself, it's always audio related. But for you, you've been doing a little bit of filming, haven't you?
A little bit is not the word I use, but yes, we've been filming at last Dimensions of the Daleks, which is the series opener to Series 2 Fractured Timeline.
Nice. We keep accidentally calling it episode 4, don't we? Because it wasn't, when pre-COVID, it was all meant to be one whole series, wasn't it? So we keep accidentally calling it, because I remember last month podcast we call it episode 4 at one point, and then later we call it episode 1.
Yeah, so to everyone who's in the audience is confused, like, what was it, episode 4, episode 1? It's episode 4, which is the 4th episode we've done, but it's the first episode of the new series.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's obviously changed in terms of its episode position, but yeah. But yeah, so has the filming been going well? It's obviously I know the answer because you told me, but like for everyone else listening.
Yeah, you've seen also some of the things we've been doing. Like, I've been showing you bits and pieces as I've been editing.
Yeah, it's been looking really nice.
Yeah. It's the first episode we're filming in the new Black Magic as well, and it's going to be the first episode we're filming in 4K, and it's definitely that challenge is still holding up in the editing.
Yeah. How many gigabytes of footage did you say that you've got as a result of this?
Oh my god! So we filmed about 3/4 of the story already, and it's already at 500 gigabytes.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So from the context, I think it's about. In all fairness, including outtakes and all, I'm probably going to sieve for the footage and just delete unnecessary takes or things that I wouldn't put in a blooper reel.
Yeah.
Just so it cleans out the hard drive just a little bit more. I think there's about 100 odd gigabytes of unnecessary takes in there. So
either way, just under or thereabouts 0.5 terabyte so far.
Yeah, and we haven't finished filming yet.
No, but you're liking the episode though, because from what I've seen, it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm really liking it so far, and currently it's looking very nice and cinematic. I'm still to do the proper grading. All the things I showed you so far, it hasn't been properly graded yet. And also sound needs to be finalized for everything we've done so far, but it's looking nice. This week we're going doing. Now, when I say this, people are going to be like, "Oh no, what's gone wrong?" We're doing some reshoots. That's not because of anything that went bad, nothing that went wrong during the actual filming. It's because when Aiden was over, Aiden came all the way from Cork, which is, you imagine Ireland, put Ireland on the map. Derry's on one side of the country and Cork is all the way in the other. So he traveled some distance to come down to help us film that weekend. And so obviously we wanted to prioritize his filming. So to make sure that we got his filming done, we had to prioritize all his shots. So we're going to go back and reshoot our scenes that have our side of conversations and such.
Oh, yes. We spoke about this before you filmed, because you were quite worried, weren't you, about getting it all done? Yeah,
because it was a massive undertaking all these days of filming. We only had Aiden for about 3 full days, and we knew that on the Monday we had to prioritize a certain scene, but we had to there's still so much more to film, so we just sort of shortened the shot list by just shooting everything that Aiden needs to be in. And we shoot all of our stuff later, which isn't that much. We did shoot some parts, but we just need to get some pickup shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And indeed. So it's all good. It's all good. I'm very happy with it so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad because we've been talking about, like, now this is I think this is going to be the 18th podcast, I think. And all 18 podcasts have been saying, "Oh, let's just get filming a Fractured Timeline." So it's nice to actually be able to talk about it now. I mean, as well as you doing Fractured Timeline, I think this month has been the most productive for me this year since for audio drama creation. That's what I'm referring to. Yeah. And I sort of this morning, because I've been trying to keep a good sleeping pattern of waking up at 7 or 8. I think I must have woken up at 6 accidentally, or not at 6, but within the hours between 6 and 7, and that's because when I woke up, and by the time I'd got ready and made myself like a coffee or something, I'd looked at the time and it was 7:05, and I'm like, hang on, I should have woken up like 5 minutes ago, and here I am. So that's probably why I'm also so tired, is because I've somehow in a tired state. I don't know how that could have happened though, because one of my alarms would have woken me up, but all of my alarms were set for 7 onwards. So I don't know how I've woken up from an alarm. I do also have a 5:30 alarm for work that I keep forgetting to switch off, and I'm like, I could not have woken up at 5:30 either. It couldn't take me an hour and a half from getting out of bed to making myself a hot chocolate in the morning. But
it could also be your natural body clock is not adjusted to this.
Yeah, but I don't really treat myself nicely in terms of when I'm going to sleep either. I set a time to wake up, but I don't exactly go to sleep at a good time either. So that's why I'm so tired as well. But I sort of was thinking, whilst I was really tired, I actually slept for another half an hour a bit earlier, and I was kind of actually I don't know what, I just thought about how have I been so productive with audios this month. And if you remember December last year, I actually took a complete break from audios completely. I just got so burnt out last November. I took a break, and I'm thinking, how's it taken me 8 months to get to a proper reset again? And I'm still trying to figure it out, but I just get the feeling that my body and my brain just wasn't ready.
Probably, yeah. But,
I have still made things. I mean, we know that. Like obviously, when I took that break at the end of the year, though, like we've said on many podcasts this year, I was still falling behind with audio, so I was still making them, but the production of them has been so much faster in the last month and a half or so.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of like, I don't know. For me, I know that this episode we're doing right now of Fractured Timeline, it's been such a heavy undertaking. I know I'm not looking forward to doing the remaining episodes of the series, but I don't know. I think it's sort of like, although it's been due to the pandemic, I'm glad I took that break from the Fractured Timeline series. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the differences with me is I've had no excuse, because you can make them from home. And I took that break in December because it was Christmas, and I just did not want to be thinking about audios that month. I just wanted to get my work done, like work done, and then just relax. And then New Year came around, and I just did not have any energy in me to push on. And it was only until March that I really started to think I've got to really start hurrying up here, which was when actually we started making the first volume of Sherlock as well. Because I realised that's 4 whole months away. And then there were other audio dramas that are coming out in like October, and then some in December that was still not made. And I'm thinking, I'm going to like fall apart here. But we're at a good position now where I think about 3.5 volumes are done so far, because I'm trying to make them more monthly next year rather than scattered like last year and a bit of this year. I'm trying to make it a bit more like each month is a new thing. As a result, 3.5 done. That's halfway through the first half of the year, and I'm on track to finishing the fourth volume out of the 6 soon. And that will only leave us with a handful of things which are already currently being worked on anyway. And I can sort of move on to the second half of the year, which I actually have. I'm not going to say what it's called, but do you know that script I sent you, I think, yesterday or the day before for a sort of cameo character?
Yes, you did, yeah.
That is not coming out until November next year.
Oh.
But the only reason why I'm giving it so much time is because it's all coming out in one day, which I know I said I wouldn't do, but when people find out what it was and because it was pitched to me to do, and I could not refuse, despite it not fitting in with the schedule at all. But not only that, it's not written. It's worked in collaboration with me, but it's written by somebody else as well. But all the scripts are 30 to 50 pages each, and considering that it's coming out in a day, we had this problem with the 2021 releases, didn't we? Where the only projects left were the ones that all came out in one day.
Yeah.
And as a result, with them taking so long, the ratio of creating audios, like the audios I've been editing recently, have been coming out weekly. So as a result, I'm on track to finish editing a second audio for this weekend, which will then buy me 2 weeks. 2 days of editing gives me 2 extra weeks to get something else. You get what I'm saying? Whereas if you work for weeks on one project, but it only gives you 3 hours of release time, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm working so early on this, because I know this will take so much of my time that it'll be all out in 2 to 3 hours. So if I leave it till the last minute, all that work does not fit the ratio, so I have to spread it out. But it doesn't mean, just so you know, it doesn't mean that you have all the time in the world. I'll still be chasing you. In fact, you've got 5 scripts still to record for.
Oh God, yeah, I do. I don't want to go in, and there's others that are on the way, so I'm so behind. It's so difficult.
That's what I'm talking about. We've got no time at all.
Yeah, you currently have work and you have all the other projects, but for me, I've got work, like a fractured timeline, and I've also got weddings.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything's just hit manic.
Yeah. There's everything else, and then there's the weddings.
Yes. Yeah. You decided to resume Fractured Timeline, and you're also writing a couple of scripts for me as well, and you also make the cover arts, very thankfully, as well. And you also act in these audios, and you're also working on your own things, and then you're also getting married.
And I also have work.
And work. And you've got to make a living.
You forgot about the thing that gives me the money that helps me do the other things.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
And also, I'm in the process of moving. I'm also in the process of moving, so it's.
You are. You're moving in 2 weeks from this recording.
I believe so.
When this podcast comes out, it'll be the 8th. When this podcast.
Yeah, so I'm planning to move mid-September, so that won't be too soon after this podcast is done. So it's gonna be then the process of moving is gonna be a whole thing in itself.
It's a good thing we're recording this early then.
Oh God, yes, because I don't think I have a desk to sit down in and we do this podcast, and that's the time we're recording.
So, speaking of moving, shall we talk about the one-off audio drama Baby on Board?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here is the trailer. Overton Audios presents...
Daddy Charlie, eh? How have you been, mate?
Don't call me that. I dread being called that.
Oh, come on. You better get used to it with the little one on the way. How long is it till we get to yours?
Satnav says 5 hours.
I've heard you all day.
Fuck off!
That kid is a mistake.
But don't you call it a mistake. That kid and Jasmine are the best things to happen to me.
Baby on Board. Coming the 25th of September 2021 at 12 p.m.
Look, we're not far away from a nightclub.
And we're in the middle of nowhere.
We're actually in a small town called Shrivenham.
You think there'll be nightclubs in the small town of Shrivenham?
And there's the trailer. So it's just me and Dan talking about this because we obviously had Joel on the podcast last month. We talked briefly about it then. And we're also just so bloody busy. I can't understate that enough. That me and Dan are going to talk to you a bit about it. Dan, you've heard it, haven't you?
Yeah, I've listened to it. I mean, I think you sent it to me. I can't remember when you sent it to me. I think it was just about around the time it was finished, because I think you wanted another pair of ears on it.
Yeah, because basically what not a lot of people will know is that Baby on Board is a script I wrote. Well, now it's before. Obviously, when I was making it, it was a different set of time. Now, as of recording this, it was 6 years ago. It was just an 11-page script. It was just meant to be a short film I made before I went on to my final year of uni. It was going to be something really small. And then obviously now, looking back on it, I with a bit more time on my hands, I've been able to flesh it out a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's basically the very bare bones of it is a massive road trip, but also exploring maturity and perspectives on people who are the same age but have got completely different priorities in their lives now.
Yeah. This here does speak a lot to people, especially about young parenthood. These, what you see, I think you see a lot these days. Is like it's about. I think it's sort of like there's part of the script, sort of like Joel's character. I think he's anticipating being dad, but he's also worried because maybe he feels like he's not ready.
Yes, there is a natural worry because at this stage, he's only, I believe it was that he left in his second year of uni. Either way, he's in his very early 20s. His character's name is Charlie, by the way. And the other actor, Ollie Hatton, plays Michael. So Charlie isn't ready for fatherhood, but he's stepping up to be there. He wants to be a good father, and that's something good to aspire to.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's accepted the responsibility of his life, that he's going to be responsible for his child.
Yes. And he is. It's not a case that it was in a one night stand. It is actually he is in a relationship. He hasn't done a runner or anything like that, or it's not been a weird one night stand accident. It's been a case of it was unfortunate because it happened just, him and his girlfriend messing around. Something happened. It wasn't planned, but nonetheless, they've both taken responsibility and gone, and then decided to keep the child.
Exactly, yeah. And I'll say Michael, who is still in university, we've all been. We mean you've been to university. We know people who's like Michael.
Oh God, yeah, he's like he is the worst. Honestly, I wrote him
the worst.
Yeah, I wrote him based on people I knew at uni, and I've sent it to I've sent it to yourself, obviously, and I've sent it to a few other people, and they said, "Did you base it on this person, or did you base it on that?" And then I'm like, it's a mixture of all these people.
I was going to say, do we go to the university of the same people?
Yeah, like there are people there are self-absorbed people who just kind of want to go out and party, and that's fine that you want to do that when you're younger, but there's got to be also an appropriate time. It's very basically it's about the clash of Michael saying, "Oh well, if we're doing this huge road trip, it's going to take us a day or two. Well, why not we just stop off and have a beer or something?" And then not realizing that there's got to be a designated driver, and he goes, "Oh, don't worry, one drink won't hurt." Obviously, Charlie's a responsible one, so he doesn't have one. But then it causes rifts where Michael's like, "What? You're not my friend anymore?" And it's like all this stupid sort of peer pressure stuff that you have when you're even like earlier when you're in like school, college, in the education system, when you're younger and you have those kind of peer pressure elements. The difference is that if you want to put it down to its bare bones, Michael is still a boy. Charlie has had to become a man.
Yeah.
With responsibilities. He's not just thinking about himself, let's go and have a party. He's like, No, I've got a girlfriend at home who's heavily pregnant and could literally, her waters could burst any moment, and I'm here picking you up.
Yeah.
It's like
it's just
a lot. Like it's sort of like, I think it will more people. The people who will appreciate the story more will be the people who've had to deal with those sort of self-centered, ignorant people.
I mean, surely I do. I appreciate that.
But it's also a case of, I wanted to make it very clear in the story that they aren't built like that. They aren't like that for life. Like it's just a case of you're young and ignorant of things happening around you because you're young. You think everything's about you and that you can take on the world, and you don't think about anybody else. Like that happened. That we all go through those phases. Some of us leave it earlier than others.
Yeah.
It always happens, and that's how we learn to be more appreciative of others. But there are some people who take much longer to learn, and Michael is one of them.
Yeah, but for Michael, it's sort of like, it wasn't he was forced to. I think he knew himself. He had to adapt quicker to be more responsible, to be a person who cares for others, because eventually he has no life to look after.
Well, yeah, Charlie does.
Yeah, Charlie. Sorry, but for Michael, he's still in university. He's still fending for himself, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, he's got no one to have to look after, only himself, and he therefore can do what he wants. But nonetheless, I've really enjoyed being able to flesh it out, because when I wrote it, if you ever read the original script, it's so much worse, because you can't really look back. That was me writing it whilst I was in uni, and having finished it and had time to reflect on it, you were able to sort of conjure up more of an informed opinion on things.
You were able to, you obviously we all mature and grow as people over age. I think during that time when we first initially wrote it, you matured and you become more of an adult now, and you could sort of see you were able to feed that back into the script.
Well, to put maybe a sense of irony on it, when I wrote it, I was 20. The same age as these characters, and now I'm 26. And I've rewritten it and looked back over it and sort of had more context for how life should be dealt with. I don't know, how life should be dealt with. Great wording. And then as a result, it's just a bit more informed. I think it just works a little bit better. That is coming out on the 25th of September. The trailer is coming out on the 18th, but obviously it's in this podcast anyway. So a week after the trailer's release, which will be the 25th of September, is when Baby on Board is released.
Very good. We all look forward to it, and I've already listened to it, and it's fantastic. So you're all in for a treat.
Yay. So then, shall we read some comments?
Yeah, I've had Harvey Coley who replied to the photo I put out, the promo pic of Dementia Dogs. He says, "Can't wait for this. It's been a long time coming. I love what you and Luke do. I wish I can do something like that one day." And
that's lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely. And yeah, Harvey, keep working on it. Know your own limits, and then evolve from there. That's what I did. I mean, I did episode 1, which was the most bare minimum that we could do, and then I was able to pave my way from there, growing from strength to strength each episode. Yeah, and yeah, so it was very nice to you, Harvey, and best of luck.
I've got comments here from Talk to Birth Perspective. First one is from Jeevan John, and he says, "This story was absolutely fantastic. All of the characters in this were amazing. Mark Bray as Larry was absolutely amazing, and he did a fantastic job. Catherine Powell as Lizzie was superb, and the interaction between her and Matt was amazing. Last but not least, though, Thomas Aidan James as Father Shaw was amazing, and it was great hearing him again. But the star of the show, Oliver Silcock, did an awesome job as Matt Vowles. 70,000 out of 70,000. That number keeps going up. Do you remember last month it was 30,000?
Yeah.
Like when we read the comments for the audiobooks, it was like it went up to like 10,000 on the first one, 30,000, then 90,000. and now we're back to the 70,000.
Yeah.
I wonder how he even decides. I wonder how he decides those numbers.
I don't know.
It's always full marks. It's always 70,000 out of 70,000. But why is the amount different?
I don't know.
And then we've got another comment here from this is an interesting title. Ratman and Toaster Nuts. I love that.
Interesting name.
Yes, indeed. A really unique Torchwood story. Matt Vowles is such an engaging protagonist and very well performed. Loved the realistic, gritty atmosphere, something that the actual Torchwood show sometimes failed to achieve. Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to do with this one. This one, I knew I wanted to have kind of. Well, I think I've said this too when I had last month or the month before, podcast with Ollie when I talked to him about retrospective was the original title of it was Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
It literally, those were the elements that I was thinking, like it's the late 70s going into the 80s and it's a proper Friday night out in Soho, and those elements would always come into play. Like so we still kept those elements, but the title was obviously changed to Ollie's idea because it's, retrospective is always like looking back on the past. And obviously this is quite 1970s, 80s, which is already what we're doing. For Matt, it's his own past as well. And he's obviously, there's a character in there who he knows from his own past. And of course, the return of Father Shaw after, I think actually, the last time he was seen was General March Volume 2, which was the beginning of 2019. So it's been 2.5 years since Father Shaw was actually last heard from. So there seems to be a really nice reaction to Father Shaw returning, which I'm very happy with. And I've only just got the one comment on Earth Corp 2, Episode 1. And this is written by Jeevan John, and he said, "Loved this episode, can't wait for more." There you go. After the last one with the 70,000 at 70,000, this one is very, very short in comparison. But in all fairness, it is episode 1. We haven't got a final review on the whole volume.
Yeah. Just waiting for that final review. Yeah.
But yeah, this is what I keep going on about this, but I want to go on about it forever, which is that this new volume of Time Traveller is very important to me because it's a continuation.
Yeah.
So I keep going on about it, going, please, it's the follow up.
It's just like the final volume before the actual continuation starts.
Well, technically, Earth Corp 2 is like a prequel to it because it's not set. It's set after Earth Corp 2 is still set after the visual series, but it's finalizing and closing the Earth Corp storyline. So it is kind of like closing out all the stories, but it technically is happening simultaneously with the follow-up volume, which is answering what happened after the Grid mainframe did its thing.
Yeah. It's good, yeah.
But there's all the comments. Very, very chuffed with people still engaging and everything. I thought people may have got bored by now, but maybe it's because we're making too much. So much. There's always something to watch. Therefore, there's always some form of interaction, which I'm very happy about. But anyway, shall I go and speak to John and Harper about Mastermind?
Oh, yeah. Very masterful conversation you had.
Oh, yes. Very good. Very good. Here's the trailer.
Overton Audios presents.
There's this old house on the hill. Some kids said it's haunted by the ghosts of something that happened before the Peace Wall went up.
Oh, the house on the hill. I've heard of it.
They say before the Peace Wall went up, there was a man who ruled half the universe. His subjects rebelled against him and killed him, burying him on the hill. The house was built there to make sure no one dug up his grave.
How about some adventure, Peggy?
What was that?
It sounded like a scream.
Well, I've got that far.
Who is the master?
The story is not fake, just told too early. I am the ruler of the universe, and you are my loyal subjects.
No! Stay with me! Stay with me, please!
My son's made a stupid decision again. He's gone up the hill with a few friends.
My word, that's not good at all.
Mastermind, The Man on the Hill, coming the 9th of October 2021 at 12 p.m. And welcome back to the podcast. Here I am with John and Harper.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm alright. How you doing?
I'm all good. So, something that we've been talking about. I can't remember how long we've been talking about Mastermind, but it was something that crossed our minds, or at least I think it started with you initially.
Yeah, I think it was probably around late 2019 because we'd done like General Marsh. We did 2 volumes of that, and then we were like, "Yeah, this is fun." But then we were like, "We can't really add any more to the General Marsh saga or whatever."
Yeah, there were talks about doing a volume 3 set in like his Gallifrey Time Lord General days.
Yeah, we thought maybe we could do a War Master with it, how they sort of went back and did more adventures. But then we were sort of like, maybe not, because
it was a case of we kind of closed that metaphorical book. You know, we just sort of said, well, we've done that story now, we've closed it. Why would we go back? It makes sense. So I think that's where it came from. I know that it changed a lot. It was a 10-part originally, and then or 6-part, and then it became a 10-part. Then because it was then pitched to be 2 volumes of 5 episodes, and it was like, why don't we do it as a series? And then it became 10 episodes. Then went back to 6, became 3. Then nothing happened, so we made it 1. Then it went back to 3. Then it became 1, and then 1 episode to be released earlier as a pilot, and then 2 episodes afterwards. And then it just went back and forth, didn't it?
Yeah, it's we didn't really have much goals with what we were doing. We were just sort of like, we want to make more Master Adventures, and we kind of want to make them like, set after Series 4, right?
Yeah.
So, we want to have it all come after that. And we were just a bit like, what should we do? Should we just do a full-on series and just say, yep, that's our 6 episodes or 10 episodes, whatever we were feeling? And then we were just like, maybe we should just put a pilot out first, just like a nice little adventure, just saying, hey, look, yeah, the Master's still doing shenanigans. You look forward to more in the future.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, because this story, it opens with that last scene of the Master in Doctor Who Resurrection season 4, where, I mean, spoilers for the series 4 finale if you've not heard it, but basically it's when the Master's been knocked out and the Guardians of Time take him away for punishment for helping the villain who was the Black Guardian. So it's sort of answering the question of what did they do to him and where did he go, and then also just a story about him dealing with the punishment he's been handed out. So the story's called The Man on the Hill. Essentially, the Master's not really the main character, which I quite like. He's kind of like this.
Yeah, it is very much like can't remember what the episode's called. The one with the Ood, who's like, you have a call.
Sorry, you're talking about War Master Volume 2?
2. Yeah, it's the opener for that, I think. It reminds me of that because the Master is, he's just a friendly bloke, isn't he? Like, there's a minute when he's in the shop, isn't he? And he's talking about his family or whatever. But
are we talking about War Master or Mastermind now? We're talking about Mastermind. Yeah, because you asked for a bag of licorice or something.
Yeah, I know, a bag of licorice.
But essentially, the main characters are actually 4 school kids.
Yeah, and then the Master does bad things.
Oh yeah, as he does. But like it's following them on a human colony. There's like a kind of a Halloween kind of style thing called Almween. They've also got a peace wall, which means that nothing bad can ever happen. There's no like, it basically is a controlled environment.
Yeah. For the most part, when it comes to this, it was just nice to have a nice little adventure. I'm hearing lots of dings from your end as well.
I know, I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, I'm being contacted in every form. It's like, it's been 3 hours. You could have contacted me in that time.
It always happens. Every single time we go to record something, we'll be like mid-conversation on the recording, and then it just goes, ba-ding, And we're just like, oh, for the love of God.
Mm.
But yeah, anyway, so the Mastermind series, we thought, well, we'll set off on like a little opener just to say, yeah, here is his adventures, here's what he's doing. We've got this sort of set up to further explore, because we just thought we don't really want to commit to a volume just yet. And this was written ages and ages ago, so we wanted to sort of say
it was written by Eamon Longman, and this is actually a string of multiple scripts he wrote up to a year ago, but he's written them in almost reverse order. The first one he wrote was an audiobook for Remembrance 2, which I think you read out.
Yeah, it took me an hour and 10 minutes, but I got there in the end.
Yeah, and then he's written an episode for Crimson Hunter Volume 2, which shouldn't be I've already announced it, but like
spoilers.
And then he's and now he's written this. It's just sort of worked its way back. So even though this is the first one of his scripts to be released as a finished story, it is actually the latest one.
Yeah, I do find it it was a very nice story. There was a very funny comment about Bustin, which I won't even I'll let you listen to that. Yeah. And I remember, because you sent me the audio not too long ago, because I wanted to re-listen to it before you got into the podcast, because usually I have no idea what we're talking about when we do.
Well, we made it up to 6 months ago, so it was we've done so many other things since. We need to remind ourselves.
Yeah, so I listened to it, and I remember just hearing that. It's like, oh my God, because it took me aback. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize. I forgot that was what happened. But I mean, it was funny though, and also it's a nice. Yeah, it's a nice little adventure. Like it's got like, I like the mischievousness that the Master has. There is a nice little moment at the end I do love. You're just like, oh yes, that is the Master.
You were really enjoying it, I know. Because what's interesting is that I think we both said this to one another before, but I don't think it's ever been said in the podcast or anywhere sort of else. But your Master hasn't been the Master for very long. And what I mean, but even though like you've been playing the Master now since 2018, you were playing General Marsh, who was once the Master, and is now the Master again. So you were playing a very troubled man who has this insanely dark past, but was trying to move forward from it. And we've made General Marsh.
Yeah. I mean, this Master,
and then in Transcendence, where you reappear, you're still a mixture of both. Like, you've like the whole story was basically that you have Callum Baird's Master from the Northern Doctor's era being the true as Master as you can get, and then you have Kerrion, who was playing the original General Marsh just before you, who was pure of heart, and then you have you in the middle, who's just like, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah.
But now with Series 4, even then you were still working with, like, the Master was still working with people, whereas this is just the Master. It's as
I generally think that with this Master, I do love the sort of development, because overall it's he starts as someone who's coming off from the fact that his previous self spent his entire life as General Marsh, and then you've got this incarnation who's struggling to really maintain that. And then because he's still a psychopath, so he's a bit and we see his relationship with his son, and then when his son dies, that is what breaks him. Spoiler alert for the end of Series 2. But but
we know already that from the latest Torchwood release that he didn't. But the Master, if you think about it, the Master never sees him live either.
Yeah, he just he sees his death, and then that's what really like sets him off for the most part. And then I love the fact that when we see the Master here, he's up to his old tricks, because he has snapped. He's gone. He
is the classic Master we all know and love, but he's but also does abhorrent things.
Yeah, he does some horrifically.
I will say it's one of my favourite audios I've edited as of late, because, like, whereas in like normal Doctor Who stories, you have the Doctor saving the day or anything like that, you've got the Master doing awful things to get his way. like, sure, the story may be resolved by the end of it, but it's not done in a very pure sort of way. There's a lot of things that are very harsh and well, as I said earlier, the word I used was abhorrent, horrifying things he has to do to get his own way, which hurt people but empower him, and he just loves it. So it was a lot of sort of devilish fun, because I have to say as well, your performance was incredible as well.
Oh, that's nice.
You were loving it. I could you were like, between each take, you were just laughing, going, "I'm absolutely loving this."
Yeah, there are moments like there's a minute where I'm in a spacey wasty ship, and I'm like laughing my heads off, like, ha 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 ha, I've succeeded in my plans, and I love that because it's amazing because. I don't know. He's a character who is ruled by his ego, and he's a character also who is defined by his benevolent nature. That I am better than you stupid humans. Like he is someone who generally believes that he is better than everyone else. So to have his character spend all this time for whatever reason, which I won't get into obviously because that would spoil it, in this particular place. It's amazing because he's sort of like you realize how rewarding hurting people is for him, and so I love that fact about him, that he's just that he does get off on basically hurting people. Not that I like that myself, I must add, but in terms of character,
no,
I love that about
it's fun to play, because as human beings in a society, we have to kind of conform with the. I mean, this is going to get really weird.
Oh yes,
but
very
basically,
unfortunately.
it's a chance to have a bit of mischievous with it, like a bit of mischievous sort of side with a role. Things you would never do in real life.
I've always wanted to kill someone. I'll be telling you that now. But
oh right, well no, but you get me. You get my point. It's like with the Master, he does so many different things that you'd never do, but it is kind of a little bit fun because it's all make believe to kind of explore that side of things.
I'm the Master, and I will shoot you in the face. It's always something
that's his catchphrase.
And I will shoot you in the face. It's not you will obey me. It is I will shoot you in the face. But when it comes to the Master, I don't know. I just love it. And the main thing I enjoy about all of this is that Overton Audios as a whole is just a lovely playground to just create we'll just take these wonderful scripts that people write in. Like this guy, he literally just messaged you saying, I've got some story ideas, and here he is writing for the Master.
Well, once again, this is another classic example of when we released the first podcast, where I literally just made an open call saying, if you want to write something, just message. And Eamon was one of those people. When is it going to be out? I don't know. I closed the release schedule because of all the noises my computer was making. I believe it's coming out on the 9th of October. If not, I will recorrect myself with Dan. If not, then there you go.
All whole days before my birthday, I must add.
Yeah, it's all very good. I think you wanted it out on your birthday originally.
I wanted it out on my birthday, but then you were like, no, fuck you.
It's like, no, thank you. You will not be ruining my schedule today.
But no, like I don't know. I don't really care. It's around that time, so it'll be an early present. But it's nice because I do want to hear people's thoughts. Comment down below. Obviously, this is a bit early, but still, comment down below when you've heard it. Come back to this podcast episode when you've listened to it and comment the same things you commented on that episode, because then it will raise awareness for this channel. Because apparently that's how the YouTube algorithm works.
Yay!
But yeah, for the most part, I love playing these characters. I love playing Andrew Pearce. I love playing the Daleks and Cybermen. As insecure I am about those voices, I love it. It's great because then, I don't know, I do get messages, and I love it. It's just like, oh, hello, thank you. Nice words.
It's funny because there are even cases where you've done Dalek voices for fan films and just forgotten to ever mention it, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing a release of a fan audio, and it's like, and John and Harper as the Daleks. I'm like, John?
Yeah, because a lot of these things, like I've actually done so many things, and I forget how much I've actually recorded for, because I'm in so many of your projects. I'm pretty much I don't think there's anything other than maybe Baby on Board that I am not in. Like it's getting to that point now. But then you know, I'm also in like a lot of other people's projects that I can't even remember. Like I'm in so many like audios and films, some of which don't even exist because they've either been deleted since or they just haven't been made. Like I know that for sure. But then, you know, I don't really care. I'm glad to be of service to the fandom. And I just love it so much, and it means so much to me. Like if I somehow in the next 10 years get to be involved in the actual show, I'll try my hardest to make sure I'm still available for the fandom, because a fandom is such a great thing, and I think that the show probably needs to be a bit more communicative with the fandom, because I love that connectivity.
Well, it's like the same thing with, for example, you know, my friend Benji, who works at Big Finish. He's one of
He's
the
Davros.
Yeah, he's played Davros in some of my audios, and a lot of people are like, oh, you know Benji? I'm like, I've actually pretty much known him for 8 years now.
It is weird though, because like I hear him doing like the Davros lines, then I go off to listen to the Big Finish podcast. I'm like, oh, it's him.
He does even then. In the podcast, he does some of the Davros lines. You can hear him whenever like they were talking about Time War 4 or something. He'd do the Davros lines, but without the effect on them, and it's just like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it's very weird, but it's cool. It's again like that's the leading back to the whole fact of I love it when, because you got Chris Walker Thompson, right?
Yes, he played the Don in Twine the Universe, and then because Chris and Benji have known each other since school. They didn't go to school together, but like that's probably the weird wording of it. But they were both at school at different schools when they met.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They made old fan films together as well. It's like it goes to show that, you know, the dream is accessible.
Yeah, a lot of things like it's a lot of fans who have made for the fandom in their respective eras all go on to do Doctor Who things in the actual show, like Nicholas Briggs.
Yeah.
Shall we mention the audio visuals? Shall we? You know.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
But you know, like, yeah, every single fan who has like, you know, made stuff in their respective zones of time eventually end up making something with the show. So that'd be very exciting. I don't know if that is going to happen, but you know, I might be dead. But either way.
Okay, good. All right, I think we'll end it there. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
anyway.
Thank you very much, John. Again, Mastermind will be out on the 9th of October.
Oh.
And you'll get to hear John in all of his masterness.
My masterness, yes. Yeah, bye.
Great. And that was my conversation with John and Harper on Mastermind. And specifically, this special is called The Man on the Hill, which is coming out on the 9th of October. Yeah. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how Mastermind has turned out. It was initially, like I said, I don't want to repeat myself too much from what I said with John, but Mastermind was supposed to be one whole volume, but then obviously as the 2021 release deadlines have closed in, we've had to push it back.
Yeah, but still, I think that this makes for a nice prequel or pilot for the volume.
Yeah,
a sort of sense of what's going to be happening.
Yeah, it answers pretty much what happened to the Master immediately after the Series 4 finale of Resurrection.
Yeah.
So it answers that question about how we got out of that, and then leaves what you might say an open landscape or something, an open horizon for what other things we could do. But
exactly, which is very exciting. Yeah,
it was a unique story. It's written by Eamon Longman, who's I believe he's from New Zealand. I think he is, because he was just actually talking. He was talking to me the other day. He's writing another script for me now, because yes, I think he is. He must be from New Zealand, because he just said he's had to go. They've gone back into a full lockdown again, and that was New Zealand who did it. Yeah, which is obviously. We almost got through this podcast without mentioning COVID.
You just had to bring it up, didn't you?
Yeah.
you had to bring up how amazing a job that New Zealand have been doing with the pandemic.
Well, you know, they got it down to 0 cases.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. And they yeah. I'm just, you know, it's praise. It's praise.
Exactly.
But
now if only our government could do the same.
Oh God. I thought we got through the first segment we got through the first segment and didn't mention it once. We were like, wow, this might be it. And then as soon as I mentioned who wrote it, I suddenly remembered. Oh, but yeah, he's currently writing another the event. Yes, he's currently writing another script for us, which is going to be due out next year. All of the other scripts he's written, nearly all of them, are actually due for release in the next few months. So you'll see a lot more from him. And this is actually the last script he wrote for 2021. He's gone backwards. He's gone from the end of the year towards the middle. But this story was unlike, not to hype it up too much, but it was unlike anything that I'd ever really worked with before, because the Master's always got a very specific storyline, and most of the time, like you see with other Master stories that are just focused on the Master typically always wins.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the only time we ever really see the Master is in Doctor Who, and they're always losing. So it's always really interesting to write stories where the Master's plans actually succeed. And it also gives, I think, a bit more detail to show how complicated the Doctor and the Master's relationship is, considering that they are both, and this is something that was always said in the very beginning of the Master's appearances with the Third Doctor, which was they're meant to be their intellectual equals, but on different sides. And I fear that sometimes, more recently, they end up sometimes becoming a bit too generic, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. So this was nice to see, especially just.
Oh yeah.
Also, just builds out John's Master a lot more.
Yes,
he's been wanting this sort of story for ages now.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. It's a case of anytime you've ever seen his Master, it's either been his struggling within the turmoil of General Marsh, or in the fourth series, he is the Master again, but he's not by himself. He's got a group of people who are working with him, and he is working for a greater power in that arc anyway. So this is actually him being the Master himself, and that will eventually lead up to, because inevitably he's going to meet the Cravat Doctor again at some point. That can't be the last time he saw him.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're kind of gearing him up to be the best he can be for when they meet again, because I really want it to be something really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see where that goes.
Can you hear that beeping in the background?
What's that beeping?
It's my washing machine. My washing's done.
Oh.
Better time than any. So thank you all for listening.
Thank you all very much for listening to this podcast. Sorry, I was a bit tired this morning. There's just so much going on, as you probably know.
Well, I'm absolutely shattered as well. It's just been a very long a very long few weeks. We've been so busy with work and also just being productive on the things we want to be doing.
Exactly.
So thank you very much for listening to this podcast.
And I hope you're all well.
Yeah.
So disjointed. Sorry.
You're so tired. You're so tired.
I am. Oh my god. What's going on?
Anyway, so thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoy the releases that we've spoken about. And I'm sure that over the course of the next few weeks or so, maybe, I'm not going to put words in your mouth here, Dan, but maybe before the next podcast, there'll probably be a little bit more info maybe released on Fractured Timeline stuff.
Hopefully.
See, there we go. Hopefully. You heard him say
people are asking where's the trailer now? I'm like, I finished filming 4 days. I don't have a trailer ready.
So, no, I don't mean like a trailer. I mean like probably some screenshots.
Yeah, people that's what people have been asking for, a trailer.
Oh wow, all right, give him a break. It's only been a week.
I still got to edit the footage.
All right, guys, thank you very much for listening, and I shall see you later. Farewell.
Farewell, everyone. Bye.